This is Ismortah, and this morning during my Sunday 9 a.m. Central board game stream, I'm gonna mix it up and show you not just some board games, but some card game action. You see Magic the Gathering. Showing you some of my jam. What I plan to show you today is actually some of my collection, which is ginormous because I've been playing Magic since, almost the inception. I want to say since Revised, Fallen Empire. Um, and then obviously, stopped playing the game when the game had a huge lull. But then when it got back in the Planeswalkers, shit got cool again. So, yeah, I'm gonna show you today the newest Eldorazi block that came out. I want to say 7 years ago, as opposed to 13 years ago or something. Just some the rares that I have that are not in decks, and show you all the cool stuff. Largely Eldritch Moon, but the rares that I have from that block. Show you goodness and the cool stuff there. And of course, if you like what you're seeing, you can catch me on twitch.tv/Ismortah, videos here 24 hours after, as well as on YouTube at Shadow Balance Games, and scheduled and updates on Twitter at Shadow Balance. Let me check the sound right quick, and I will get with you. I'll be holding the phone today so I can zoom in to all the different cards. So that's what's going to be a little different today as far as display. Okay. So you're like, hey, why am I showing you Nicobolas? Only because he is fucking awesome. All hail Nicobolas. But no, not showing you this. It's probably the coolest card album that I have. No. Like I said, we're going Eldorazi. Dun, 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 dun. All right. So again, I'm going to be showing you rares from the latest Eldrazi block, which I know by now was years ago, but it wasn't the first block. It's the second block, which coming out on the 16th this month is going to be the newest Innistrad block, which I would be very surprised if they didn't again, probably end of the block, bring back in some way Eldrazi. It'd be kind of a crime not to be honest. But anyway, so let's get into it. So I have basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 pages of rares to show. Just the cool stuff. Some of these may not be rares, it looks like, and I think there was a reason for that, probably because if they were foil. Yes. All right, let's get into it. All right, so this first up is the elemental token creature. Actually, maybe I'll sit down. I'll kill myself. Second. Elemental token creature, 5/5. You're like, why do you have that? That looks kind of like Omnath. Well, you are correct. Because this is the first rare, mythic rare, Omnath Locus of Rage. So I'm not going to read off all these cards to you because you can see it, but I'll just point out the highlights. What's cool about this card is you use these tokens, and whenever land comes into play, you can drop one of those guys, which is really powerful. And then you can blow up shit when they die, too. Here we have the Bloodhall Priest, which is a rare vampire cleric. Of course, the art on these are awesome. Again, these are all from the Eldrazi block. Largely, they'll be from Eldritch Moon. They see the Emrakul symbol here. But all of them will be from the latest Eldritch. Well, I mean, it is a spoof. Eldrazi block. Here we have Heron's Grace Champion. Actually got 2 of those. Try to keep this camera as steady as possible. We have a Dust Stalker, which is a 5/3 Eldrazi, and you see as devoid, which means that the card actually has no colors. Even though you pay whatever the symbols are up top, it actually doesn't count as any of those colors. So if anyone has anything affecting those colors, actually it does not affect you at all. Because of the ability of the Void. Oh, actually I had 3 of those champions, just noticed that. And here we have Gisa and Geralf. A couple, actually. Wow, I actually read that card. I was like, wow, that actually be good in a zombie deck. A lot of the cards would be good in a lot of decks, but actually what I plan to do in a future stream is actually take my Eldorazi newest stuff and make a commander deck, which I thought would be fun, just because I have so many of the cards that I might be able to pull it off. And that'll be a future stream as well. A Spell Queller has flash. Again, what that means is you can play the creature at instant speed. So you can use it to intercept an attack or response to someone playing a spell, which is cool. And of course, some of these cards, due to the nature of Innistrad Realm, transform. So I'll be sure to show you the opposite side of cards if any of these transform as well. All right, here we have Angelic Captain. And again, these are all rares or mythic rares or foils. So these are all viable cards out of the block, largely Eldritch Moon. Let's see here, this is from the first or second Eldrazi set in the block. See, it's a different symbol here. I believe we'll say that's the first one because it's the pylons. I believe this is the second one, which is what summoned Eldrazi, the portal, and then this is obviously the dude himself, the symbol. I could be wrong, but those are 3 in the set. Canopy Vista. This is actually a pretty cool, I call them double lands, but double lands have a particular function that's actually rare. But it counts as 2 lands, is what I'll say. But what makes this one good, the fact it counts as both, well, I guess it's double land because it counts as forest and a plane, so that's actually not true. If it says here forest and plains, it counts as both. It's almost like the original card of double land that it just counts as both. This just says you have to have a couple lands out to beforehand, but then if you do, it can come to play not tapped if it's not the first one out, which is pretty cool. Lumbering Falls. You can have it turn into a creature to wreck face. Shrine of the Forsaken Gods. I love the naming on this shit. Ooh, and look at this. I will read this quote. The gods known to the merfolk as Ula, Emeria, and Kosi, were nothing more than false memories of a monstrous trinity. The Eldrazi Titans, Ulamog, Emrakul, and Kozlik. Yikes. But true. Truth parallels. Gyre Reach Sanitarium. You're thinking like, why would you get a land that just generates colorless mana? But it's actually good if you're playing Eldrazi because Eldrazi don't give a shit. And you see the difference. It shows that symbol. If you see, let me show you an example. If you see a circle with a number, that means it can be any color you want. But if you see a diamond, that means it's colorless mana. It's not mana of any color. It's mana devoid of color. Meaning it can only be used for like that value of 2. Here we have Eldorazi Mimic, which is what you see why it's rainbow shiny, because it's a foil also. So it's a pretty valuable card. This guy mimics another Eldrazi you put out, so that's pretty beastly actually. What's up, Anachorus? I know words are hard. That's why I'm showing images, because like reading. And you see, I'm also not reading all the cards. Just fucking look at it. Eternal Scourge. Words. Wow, you can cast this from exile. That's pretty crazy. So if you're playing a deck, that stuff, or even your own things, you can purposely remove, and then it can come into play. It's pretty crazy. Oh, I see. Whenever it becomes a target, it's exiled, but then it comes back. Oh, I see. Can't get rid of the sucker. Distended Mindbender. More Eldorazi. Shifter's Graft. I'm looking at this. No, it's not foil. Just has this popping. It's an equipment, which is pretty cool because that means if creatures die, it still stays in play. You just have to pay to equip it as well. So this one is foil. Lubine prototype. Woof. Wolf Construct. This is one of my funnest cards that I have on this block. This gets so over the top ridiculous. I'll try to get a little bit closer on the image. It's as stupid as you think. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And you see it only comes out for 2. It's a 5/5. That's pretty ridiculous. So if you can take advantage of getting around this penalty for attacking or blocking, that's pretty beastly. Conduit of Ruin. More Eldrazi. Basically, if you just read the at least very bottom, the first creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. Ugh, woof. Just like this guy. Woof. That's pretty awesome. Aligned Hedron Network. Ah, that's what it was. I'm trying to find the symbol what that was. These are the Hedrons. Right. I knew there was a word for it. That's an artifact, actually not Eldrazi, but it's used to this actually used to be anti-Eldrazi, actually. Anything with power 5 or greater is exiled. But if you use a conjunction like with this guy, you can blow up all really powerful stuff, and then this guy you can still summon from exile, so it should be then he should be on the field by himself and then can swing in. So actually, not a terrible idea. Soul Separator. And that's pretty dope. This is a pretty cool idea for card. You basically, any creature you have out, you can destroy the creature in its place. You could bring out a spirit and a zombie. It's like you separate the soul from the body. That's pretty cool. The new set coming out just got me thinking about these cards. Like, God, there's a lot of really cool shit. Here's another Eldorazi. I was gonna say Realty Smasher. Yeah, if you want to buy a home, Reality Smasher. He smashes your new home. Trample and Haste. It's pretty beastly. Actually, I had 2 networks. There's the second one. I had 2 Soul Separators. Desolation Twin. It's just a 10/10, but when you play it, you get actually 2 10/10s. So, wow, crazy. This one's fun. Oblivion Sower, Mythic Rare. Allows me to blow up someone's library and steal their lands, essentially. So we haven't gotten into any of the transforming guys yet, but I think we will be soon. Well, does transforming was typical for Innistrad, but there's also fusion. But here I actually have My favorite cards actually from this is the three, what I call the three Eldrazi gods. And I'll read all of these because they have cool, really epic text and pretty cool flavor text. So here we got Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, which is from the first set in the block. It's a 10/10 mythic rare. When you cast Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, you exile 2 target permanents. He's indestructible. And whenever Ulamog attacks, the defendant player exiles the top 20 cards of his or her library. So he just like anti-matter. It's like you can't kill him. He exiles stuff and he blows up the graveyard. He just eats everything. A force as voracious as time itself. Next up we have Kozalik, the Great Distortion. The second block in the second set in the Eldrazi block. This is a 12/12, and you see, whereas this one costs 10, this one also costs 10, but costs 8 of any color and 2 colorless. So that means it's actually a little bit harder to play, because to play the Great Distortion, you actually have to use colorless mana. Whereas Ceaseless Hunger, you can just use 10 mana any color. This you have to use 8 of any color, but 2 have to be also colorless. And when you cast Kozalik, the Great Distortion, if you have fewer than 7 cards in your hand, you could draw cards equal to the distance. The difference, not the distance. He also has Menace, meaning you have to block it with 2 or more creatures. Not with 1. And you could discard a card with converted mana cost X to counter a spell with converted mana cost X. So again, this guy allows you to get up to 7 cards in your hand, and then if any of those cards in my hand match what the converted mana cost, meaning the total mana cost, what anybody plays, you can just do it as counter spells. So you can sit there countering shit all day. Draw cards and counter spells, and someone has to block with multiple creatures. Which you would think, wouldn't you normally do that? Well, it prevents people from chumping. The fact that you have to block with 2 creatures, not just 1, means it gets your life quicker because it's killing twice as many guys. And then we have, and the quote, a void as cryptic as reality itself. And then lastly, we have Emrakul, the Promised End. This, we got the True Tentacles. He's a 13/13 that costs 13 any colors to play. But he's actually probably the easiest Eldrazi to play. Because he also says, Emrakul, the Promised End, costs 1 less to cast for each card type among cards in your graveyard. So if you have multiple different types of cards, like you have an instant, a sorcery, a creature, a land, then that's 1 less it is to cast. So in reality, this may only cost like maybe 9 to cast instead of 13. For a 13/13, it's a pretty good value. And then, of course, what does he do? That's a bomb. When you cast Emrakul, you gain control of target opponent during that player's next turn. After that turn, the player takes an extra turn. Flying, trample, and protection from instants. So creature-wise, it is the most powerful creature in the game. Now, as far as ability, maybe not. It depends what ability you're trying to do. And what it means by player takes an extra turn is the player still gets his normal set of turns. It's just when he first comes out, I can spend a whole artificial turn just fucking up what the opponent does before they take their actual turn. It's like you control their mind. And then this is a flying trample, so when it attacks you, you're fucked. Because if you chomp it, you're going to take up obscene amount of damage, and he flies. And he has protection from instants, so you can't play tricks on him to try to get rid of him. Now you can counter the spell, because before a spell turns into a creature, it says protection from instants, but that's only when it's a creature, so you could counter it before he comes out, if I recall from the rules. But it's pretty beastly, and it says an enigma as vexing as life itself. And what's pretty cool thematically, if you look at the three, is they both have a quote talking about, you know, life, reality, and time. It's kind of like a space. I forgot the trinity was. Was space, time, and reality? Time, reality, space, or something. But anyway, it's also like Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. You have, you know, another trinity. But it's pretty cool. It's like, you know, or if you think of like Infinity Gauntlet, you have like, I control time, I control reality, I control space. Just like everything that can make up, well, you know, the world. These gods, you know, can shape. Anyway, pretty cool. I like it, as you can see. And probably the main motivating factor why I want to do a commander deck, just because I could throw all these guys in it. And since in commander decks you can have a bazillion mana, these guys cost a bazillion mana, you could most likely play them. Alright, next up we have Void Winnower, Mythic Rare, 11/9, Beastly. And you just basically prevent your opponent from casting stuff, which is always awesome. We have Geist Fueled Scarecrow. Which is punishing to me. But that's because you're bringing the value, you're playing a 4/4 for 4. Vexing Scuttler is a foil, which is pretty awesome. Eldrazi Crab. So if you like Eldrazi or crabs, boom. And he also has Emerge, so even though he can only cost 8, you can reduce the cost if you do the Emerge. If you sacrifice a creature and then pay that cost instead of 8. And it allows you to get something out of your graveyard, which is pretty cool. Cultist Staff. Cheap way you can buff somebody. Now we get into the first fusion combo that I have, which I'll show you the card first, which is gigantic card, as you may have seen, and then I'll pull out what makes it up. So here we have Handweir, the Writhing Township, which is like a fusion between flesh and structures. That's what you see. That's what it looks like in monstrous horror. It's the fusion actually of people and the buildings that made up this town. Pretty crazy. Eldorazi Ooze, 7/4, and you see it's a gigantic card. It's the space of 2 cards. You see, it's the backs you put together. Then you make it like the size of a commander deck, and that's another reason I thought this would be cool to do as a commander deck, because even though I don't have a gigantic commander card that I use as my commander, the fact that I can create these gigantic monstrosities that also look like it, it's pretty awesome. Some of the motivation. So this is a Trample Haste, and whenever it attacks, you can put more Eldrazi horrors into play. And you see what made up this horror, which I'll bring it and share with you. It's made up of these 2 cards. So we have the Garrison of People, and we have a land. Which by themselves, they're both, you know, pretty good. Low cost, but man, when you fuse them together, meld it, by paying 5, you can turn into this boom. Oh God, why? It's pretty cool. It is the fun. Legendary creature, I should say, also. Alright, what else we got? We haven't gotten to any of the transforms yet, but we are still looking at... And, you know, the other thing, too, now I think about it... Oh, no, this set does have some. Yeah. We just haven't gotten to them yet. They're influenced by the phases of the moon. Right now we just got ones that fuse together. Alright, so here is Stromkirk Occultist, a rare. And again, all these cards are rare or above or foil. It's got some madness and tentacles. Bedlam Reveler. Very expensive to play, but it's cheaper if you have stuff in your graveyard. And he can grow. Delver Horror. Assembled Alphas. Finally got some wolves. Here I got an additional Occultist, additional Reveler. Fury Blade Vampire. Yes, it is a foil. I got a kitty. I got a kitty. Oh my god, I got a kitty. He's being a kitty. Vampire Berserker. And see, this is actually an uncommon, but again, it's foil. That's why it made the list. Impetuous Devils. Collective Defiance. This is cool because the card has options, so it's whatever works best for you in that situation, which is pretty cool. And you can escalate, meaning you can do more of the abilities if you pay more for it. Make Mischief. This is a foil. Oh man, that's getting more awesome. There's just a lot of awesome, a lot of cool stuff. I love Eldorazi. I love supernatural stuff. I love the fusion and Voltron stuff. Either with the fusions, very cool. All right, so here's another mythic rare, Linvala the Preserver. The art in that's just amazing. You can keep throwing angels into play. All right, then here is probably my favorite fusion combo that I own, which you see is a mythic total card. And I'll show this to you. It's just, this looks like something out of Resident Evil or some shit. Bracella, Voice of Nightmares. Legendary creature, an Eldrazi Angel. I mean, when you start having Eldrazis that become angels, that's when you know shit's going ass backwards. Flying, First Strike, Vigilant, Lifelink. 9/10. And your opponents cannot cast spells with converted mana cost 3 or less. Basically, like, it stops low casting spells altogether. And it's spells. It's not just instant sorcery. It's any spell that's 3 or less is countered. And it's a flying, First Strike, Vigilance, Lifelink. It's amazing. And so how did you create this horror? Eldorazi horror. Let's see, was that symbol in the other one too? I think that's the symbol. Yeah, that's the symbol for the fusion. Oh my god, a kitty. Getting kitty headbutts. I know. Hears me talking, is like, are you talking to me? Alright, so let me get these dudes out. Honey, I'm doing something. He doesn't understand. He just sees me right here. Okay. You know, it's pretty cool that they called it Gasilla, because that's actually also the fusion of their names. Bruno and Gasilla, which I thought was cool. So the one on the left is the rare, Bruno the Fading Light, and Angel Horror. So you see, it's already like you have like these corrupted angels, but when they fuse, then you get this Eldorazi angel. When you cast Bruno the Fading Light, you may return target angel or human creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you can get stuff out of the grave and to Flying Vigilance. She now sees only Emrakul's visions. Then we have Gasilla, the Broken Blade, Angel Horror Mythic Rare, Flying First Strike Lifelink, and you see their abilities as the combination too of their abilities. So it's a fusion of their name and of their abilities, which is cool. And then there's also at the beginning of your end step, if you both own and control both the angels, you exile them and meld them into Brasilla, the Voice of Nightmares. She now only hears... Oh, that's pretty cool. This one says she now sees only Emrakul's visions. And this one, she now hears only Emrakul's visions. Murmurs only... God, read it correctly. She now sees only Emrakul's visions. She now hears only Emrakul's murmurs. That's cool. I like the theming. And again, this turns into... Brasilla, the Voice of Nightmare. Dope. And again, fun. I thought way to do commander, because since you have some cards that have the big commander cards, you got the big melds. So thought it'd be a fun way to include. All right, now we have Selfless Spirit, a rare. That's also pretty cool art. I swear to God, like all the Geists and Angels, like just, man, some of my favorite arts. Collective Effort. Again, this is another one of those that have escalate, so you can choose which ability you want to do, or do more of the options together if you pay more. Thalia's Lancers. I'm all about Lancers and Monster Hunter, so let's get the Lancers going. Pretty good night. Sanctifier of Souls, I have 3 of, as you see here. Rares. Whenever a creature comes into play, it gets beefier. And then he can put people into play, so he can beef off himself just by summoning his own souls. All right, now we have another one of my favorites. Dun, 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 dun. Actually, I just noticed something. Oh. This one you see Abolisher of Bloodlines, but it also has that same Eldrazi symbol. So that makes me think, is this one that turns into something? Oh, it is. I forgot about that. Yeah. It's the end of the morph. You normally have a moon and then what it turns into. Like you can have day to night or night to Eldorazi. So this one starts as, it's a rare, Voldarian Pariah, Vampire Horror. It's like, what's worse than a vampire? Flying, sacrifice 3 other creatures, you can transform it, and it also has Madness. Which is pretty cool. Madness ability is if you discard it, you can pay 3 to summon it from the graveyard if it was discarded. But when you transform it, then it becomes an Eldrazi vampire instead of a vampire horror, and it becomes the Abolisher of Bloodlines. 6/5 flying, as opposed to a 3/3 flying. And when this creature transforms into Abolisher of Bloodlines, target opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. So at first I had to sacrifice 3 to transform it, and then when I do so, I can blow up 3. pretty awesome. I actually didn't realize for a long time that this was actually a twofer. That's because we never see that symbol, which is typical with Innistrad. It shows different transformation states, so you know it's a card that you can flip and have two different states. This goes from Moon to Eldrazi. And like common we saw with Werewolves was going from day to night. This is going night to Eldrazi. Noose Graph Mob. I have two of these. You're like, why do you pay 6 for a 0/0? Because he gets a shit ton of counters. And he can remove counters to put more zombies. So basically you summon, as like you see, a zombie mob, then you can split off into multiple zombies. I got a kitty sitting right next to me. He just flattened himself on Nicobolus. So he's sitting on Nicobolus's face. So if you ever want to know what happened to Nicobolus, that's what happened. The kitty smushed him. Crypt Breaker. Got two of these. That's a rare. It's zombie. Get some definite zombie-age. For cheap, also. Oath of Liliana. I got two of these. Put dudes into play, kill dudes. And it's a legendary enchantment. So if you're playing historic, this will count because it's legendary as well. Collective Brutality. Got two of these. Sorry about that. Again, you get more choices with Escalate or Cumulative. And then, let's see, I got another 3 pages, and that'll be the end of this stream. So you can see pacing how far we are. Stormkirk Condemned. Wow, I know it's a little hard to see because of the lighting and the shadows, but man, the art on this is like top notch, man. It's crazy. The art and Magic over the years have just gone from like cartoony to high detailed fantasy to like the equivalent of like oil paintings. It is bananas. Anyway, this is a vampire horror. Again, like what's worse than a vampire? Boom. Breaker of Silence. This is a Eldorazi, which you see costs black, but it's devoid, so actually has no color. Same thing with Dread Defiler. Costs black, but it's the devoid, so actually has no color. And that's important, like I said, because if someone does something that says, oh, if someone casts a black spell, actually, that's a good point. It says the card has no color. It doesn't say the creature. So that means even if someone tried to counter the spell and say counter a black spell, you actually couldn't counter this. Because it's talking about the card. If it said the creature, you can counter it if it's like anti-black while it's a spell. Because it doesn't become a creature until it's in play. But this says the card. So at all times, the card is colorless. Midnight Scavengers. So you see this is a flipper. So when it's in the moon state, it's a 3/3. And this is also foil. That's why it's made the list. 3/3 Human Rogue. That when I transform it, turns into... Oh, it's half of a creature. I wonder if I have the other half of this. This turns into the Chittering Host. I wonder if I have the other half. I actually have no idea. We'll have to see if I have the other half somewhere. Because it could be the other half is a common. I didn't realize it. Interesting. Interesting. I'll have to find this in the future. If like this makes... If I find it, I'll definitely put it in my commander deck and show that to you. Interesting. I don't think I knew that. Sphinx of the Final Word. Mythic Rare. It cannot be countered. 5/5. Flying. Hexproof. So you can't counter it, and you can't play spells on it. It is immune to the enemy's shit. And when he's out, instant and sorcery spells you control can't be countered by spells or abilities. That's why that makes sense. We call it the final word, meaning kind of like silence. Shh. You cannot stop it. You can't target it, and you can't play spells basically for the rest of the game. Well, if someone tries to counter my stuff, they can't counter me for the rest of the game. He answers questions as readily as he asks them, but his answer is always no. All right, here's Drowner of Hope, which looks like is also a foil. He's devoid. Allows you to get more Eldorazi Scions out, which you could sacrifice for a colorless mana, which again, you need that to summon certain Eldrazi, like the Great Distortion here. Imprisoned by the Moon. This is pretty cool because this was the epic spell that, I forget her name, this Planeswalker used to bind Emrakul to the moon because they couldn't destroy him. So it's like, well, they will just eternally trap him, sort of thing. And that's exactly what you can do. It's an aura. You enchant creature, land, or planeswalker. Enchanted permanent is a colorless land with, when you tap it, add colorless mana to your mana pool and lose all other card types and abilities. So when you play this on a creature, it becomes a land that's colorless, so it can't do anything. But when you tap that land, you can get a mana for it, but then you also lose all other card types and abilities. Only one vault was great enough to hold Emrakul. Coax from the Blind Eternities. So this is actually the opposite. This was used to bind Emrakul, and this was used to summon Emrakul. The Gate. Coax from the Blind Eternities. At sorcery, you may choose an Eldrazi card you own from outside the game or in exile. Reveal the card and put it into your hand. At Nahiri's call, Emrakul traversed the vast emptiness between the planes and arrived on Innistrad. So that's pretty cool. So if you have something that's exiled, you can bring it back. Or if you own something obscene from outside the game, you can bring it into the game. Exile all other spells and counter all abilities. Christ. Instant. Just boom. Shatter to the Winds. Counterspell. They can also create an elemental creature from your land. Docent of Perfection. Wow, I wonder if this is the other card. Because they said Skittering Host, and this is a creature. Could be. No, this looks like it turns into something else, but we'll look at it. So in this form, it's an Insect Horror, 5/4 flying. And then what it turns into is... Final iteration. Now we're seeing the fly. A person that merged with the insect. Yep. Eldorazi insect. 6/5 flying. Wizards you control get +2/+1 and have flying. So you can transform all your wizards. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you can put a human wizard into play. Wow, this would actually be amazing in my wizard deck. Because if I have wizards out, and as well as his ability, he can morph really fast. And then all my wizards can then, who are normally weak, get +2/+1 and have flying. Interesting. So even though, like I said, I am going to make a commander deck, I could see a lot of these cards augmenting my vintage decks, just because, wow, putting this in a full-blown wizard deck would be amazing. Wow. That's fun. That's pretty cool. Spoof on the fly. But man, I really want to find that Withering Host in my other cards to see if I have the other half. I actually have no idea. Because, like, I just put all the rares in here. I didn't actually see, like, hey, do I have all these transformations? I probably have a lot more. These are just the rares, or better for value. Wharf Infiltrator. Human Horror. Skulk. He can't be blocked by large creatures. Identity Thief. Shapeshifter. Always good. Exert Influence. Steals a creature. It's always awesome. Laboratory Brute. This is a foil. That's why I made the list. Zombie Horror. Merc Strider. It's a foil Eldrazi Processor and the Void. If you can see it, it's too late. Turn Aside. Another foil. A really powerful counter, actually. Only one blue. Permeating Mass. Spirit. And then we're getting toward the end here. Last page. We have Splendid Reclamation. Elven Weld Observer. We got two of those. Emrakul's Evangel. Sorry. You can kill him to bring Eldrazi into play. I really like this guy because he's got this whole thing motif going on. The fact he's like, oh god, what's happening to me? Eldritch Evolution. From Beyond. This is an enchantment. That's the Void. We can look for Eldorazi. And then lastly, Glade Heart Cavalry. Cool. Well, that is all of my Eldritch. I keep saying Eldritch. Well, I mean, that's with the spoof. Eldrazi, the last Eldrazi block from all three sets. I said chiefly from Eldritch Moon because I actually got a box of the cards and a bunch of packs. And yeah, it's a lot of cool stuff. I really loved Eldrazi. I'm going to make a commander deck out of this, probably augment some other decks, and really look forward to the cool supernatural stuff coming out in Innistrad, the Hunt. It's called something Hunt. The new Innistrad set coming out next week. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. Get your magic on. Let me know if you have any cool combos or anything with these Eldrazi cards that came out years ago, because it is fun. I'm getting back into it. And yeah, this is Ismortah on twitch.tv/Ismortah. And you can also see my stuff here, as well as on YouTube at Shadow Balance Games, and updates and schedule on Twitter at Shadow Balance. Again, this is Ismortah. I'll catch you next time. Or you'll see me next time.